Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to African Australian Voice again. I'm your host, Daniel Howell Michael. And in the studio today, we have an amazing community advocate and a criminal lawyer, Deng Adut. Welcome to the program, Deng.
Good afternoon. As Daniel already has mentioned, my name is Deng Adut. I'm from Sydney. I practice predominantly in criminal law, and thank you for welcoming me to your studio.
Now, Deng, I've heard a lot about you in the last couple of days. This New Land, New Life event by Rise last night in celebration of Refugee Week. So we've heard quite a bit about you last night. You're a criminal lawyer, but you do a lot of work in the community. Why do you think that that's important, especially while you're extremely busy with doing your masters and practicing law? Why do you think your work in the community is so important?
Daniel, working with the community is the most important thing that I believe a good way to bring a relationship between the Australia and African community that we are serving. And a person without a community is not a person. So you have to go back to a community that made you who you are in order for them to actually appreciate and accept you as their mentor or also as their advocate. So I would advise other African to, even if they created their own business, they have to come back to the community where they grow up from or where they're coming from. And that's why my work is directly connected to wider African community. And of course, there's a high level of trust there that you can forge within the communities. So again, it's a community that we're serving rather than try to serve your own interests. So that's why my work is important.
Can you tell us a bit about your journey? So, you've come to Australia as a young person. You had a number of challenges, going through the education system, not technical challenges, but, other challenges from outside who questioned your ability to undertake your law degree. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I came here in 1998, and learning was very difficult for me, and especially going to high school was very old and challenging. So that did not stop me from pursuing my career as a lawyer, because there are ways apart from high school that you can go and learn English language, which is a big challenge in this country, and also to be able to pursue your tertiary education or also to go to university. I went to university just because it's a personal challenge, and it was I didn't in fact want to become a lawyer. I always wanted to become an environmentalist or a scientist, environmental law. But I was simply forced to get into law because there was somehow a problem, not a problem, but in 2005, I beg your pardon, there was issues that arises in Sydney, and those issues involving an insult, big insult to African community, especially Sub-Saharan African. And this was coming from a certain professor from University of Macquarie. And in his interview and also in his article, he said that we are less intelligent than an average individual, average human being. So I thought that was racist, not only racist, but it was dangerous to the wider Australian community. And to prove him wrong, I decided to study law, because it will then eventually prove to the wider community that even though we're coming from a different background with a lot of other challenges that we went through, and plus that English is not our number one, our first language, we speak other languages, which this professor failed to ignore, that we tested him based on that standard which he think English language. Perhaps we tested him with Marina or Eritrean or a Somalian language. You would definitely get a lower mark, and that doesn't mean that you were simply smarter than us. So I think he failed to appreciate that we have our languages. And that's why I went to university, completed my law degree, get admitted as a lawyer, practicing law, and also undertaking my master's in laws. And hopefully that put him in on a notice that in a few years, African will graduate with PhDs, and there's some of them now with a PhD who, within a short period of time, they arrive here in Australia, and they are, I believe, they're highly intelligent than that professor, because his comments were not only fair, but they were racist and primitive in nature, and that's how I decided to become a lawyer. And I think all of us should do the same thing.
Going to the community work that you actually do, can you tell us a bit about, on a weekly or a monthly basis, what do you do in the community?
Well, when I was in my third year law degree, I started a program at Blacktown as a core support program. What I did was to assist Sudanese, Somalian, Ethiopian, Ghanaian, name them, those who come to within the justice system and who do not identify with the wider Australian community. And they don't trust them because usually it's about the police not acting properly. And there I was the first person to be contacted by them. And from now onward, I give them moral support and also other social support, and also give them a referral to a lawyer that I believe would not be adverse to my community interest. So that's where I started my community work. And then from there, I get admitted as a lawyer. That work did not stop. I still give legal advice on pro bono basis, sometimes without a fee, because we don't have much money in our pocket, and not many lawyers would be able to accept brief from a person that will not be able to pay them. So I often end up working for no fees attached, just to make sure that person is adequately supported morally and also socially and legally. So that is a part of my work. And during the weekend, sometimes I go to church, or even Friday I go to mosque, just to make sure that anybody that needs document to be signed without a fees being attached to it, I just do it, and also read them their document, or maybe tell them what to do. And this is pretty much work that I do all the time.
That's amazing work you do. What was your inspiration? What took you on this path to actually, contribute to the community? We live in a society where we live individually. How have you kept that African sense of community in Australia?
Well, we African, we are known to be very sociable. We have extended family. It's not about me, my wife, and my kids. It's me, my family, that's including uncle, and then extend it further to a wider community. And that sense of belonging and that sense of self-care motivated me to be able to extend my hand not only to Sudanese community, but further than that. And based on my background, I could simply tell you that I grew up in Ethiopia when I was a kid, and then again I grew up in Kenya, and these seem to be my extended family as well. On that notice, I would suggest the sense of community work should not only be about you and your family, but it's all about the wider African community. We need to help one another so that we can come up and be able to become a good citizen in this country, and also be able to appreciate the privileges that are attached to this country. And without that help from me or other person else, we are unlikely to achieve that kind of privileges, because you may not get there. So it's all about helping one another so that you can get there.
Last question to our listeners, especially our young listeners out there who, are contemplating, going to uni and, look out into society, and, they don't really see many, lawyers, African lawyers or doctors or engineers, and, they see their parents, working dead-end jobs as taxi drivers and cleaners, and, they sometimes think, what's the point? If I can't actually get a job, what's the point of me completing a degree? what message or what advice would you send to those listeners in particular?
Well, to the youth, African youth, what I can tell you is this: do something that is actually good for your interest, and also, not only that, I would start by telling you this: when I actually decided to become a lawyer, I didn't know at all that there were other African lawyers in Sydney or in Australia. I choose that path because I wanted to be a lawyer. And the same thing, just because there are no African doctors or African lawyers, it doesn't mean that you cannot become any of them. So my advice is simple: choose a career that is beneficial to you, and also eventually it will be beneficial to the community as large. I also would want to say this: don't accept failure, because a lot of at school or in your first year degree, it will always be hard for you to attain certain marks. And also at school, you'll be bullied on daily basis. The teachers may not agree with what you said or your political opinion, and of course you are politically sensitized because of who you are. Don't disagree with them, but agree with them in a certain sense. But until you discover your self-worthiness about your journey as an African, and of course, you know very well that it took you a lot of time just to get to this country. You need to appreciate your background, your culture, and that is your strength. That's what will get you to become who you are. If you want to become a doctor, engineer, astronomer, name them, physician, you can become who you are, but have an African resilience in you, that power, that strength. That's what you need to get there. You didn't just come here as a matter of luck, and that's what my advice. You came here for a purpose. Identify the purpose in life rather than sit on a purpose that is the fact that you came here to do certain things, not to relax. I would suggest just work more like a camel, not like a donkey, but work more like a camel, extra harder, and you get there. It's all about hard work and no other way around it. Avoid shortcuts. That's my advice to you young guys.
Thank you so much, Deng, for your time. We're quite privileged to have you in. We call you at a very good time, and we hope to stay in touch and to hear more about the good work that you do, and hopefully that can inform some of the stuff that's happening in Melbourne.
Thank you, Daniel, and all the listeners. You need to support your community as well. Listen to this radio, and also attend community events, and hopefully this is where you will get a mentor. You get a lot of people that would be able to appreciate you, and also to understand your points. And don't stop asking questions. Ask questions to your mother, to your brother, to your sisters, to anybody. And of course, thank you for having me here, Daniel, and also to listeners. Have a good weekend.